Hi everybody, how's everybody doing this evening? Welcome to my Thursday live stream where we talk about photography in general and among other things. Really it's a chance for us to get together as a community and just see what's new, what's been going on. And then I like to talk about what I've been up to as well. Uh, oh, sorry. Sorry for starting late again, which, is kind of my signature move, right? Is be fashionably late. But let's see who's here. Let's see. We have John Yutze, Paul Celeru, awesome. John Follows, Plato, Rick Bear, awesome. And Scott Mumford, good to see you. And DeMorkin, Casper, Kirk Radford, wow. Thanks everyone for coming in and spending a little time with me today. I really appreciate it. Um, so yeah, what's been going on? What's Rick say? Rick says I kept meaning to ask why Rob Trek took that bear for a ride in his car. You know, I was that bear picture was actually a ride when I was in on the Skyline Drive in Shenandoah, and there's lots of bears there. I mean, every time I went hiking, when I used to go a lot a couple of years ago, always saw a bear. And on this trip, there was a bear again, but this time I had Ellie with me, and she was on high alert, man. Luckily, I had the windows rolled up, and she was inside the car. So what I did was I opened up the sunroof and I stuck the EM1 Mark II out the top of the sunroof and got that shot. So a lot of it wasn't very steady, and uh, but that little few second clip there looked okay, you know. But I know if I rolled down the window, she'd be out trying to kill that thing. I mean, I don't know if she's that crazy or not, but it wouldn't surprise me because dogs, they don't care about size. You know, my sister's got this tiny little hamburger sized dog, and that thing will just attack anything. She tried to go after Ellie. Early on when I got Ellie, I was trying to socialize her a bit. Ellie picked her up by the neck and just threw her across the room. I felt so bad. Luckily, she was fine, but um, so that goes to show you, dogs don't care about size, is what I'm saying. That little dog should know better than to mess with my dog, which was like 4 times her size. And so a bear, Ellie and a bear with her attitude, and anyhow, excuse me, let's see. And Marcel says, Rob, thank you for your ISO test yesterday. I can only watch for 15 minutes today because I have to go to work. Oh, well, I'm glad you could come in for 15 minutes and we'll catch up later, I guess. Uh, the ISO test, oh yeah, the one I did with the Panasonic S5 and the M1. And it went as expected, right? And I wasn't very deliberate about not doing any dialogue in that video. I just wanted the results to speak for themselves, and people can draw their own conclusions, right? Um, because that's a can of worms that you open up and it's hard to close it again because people will just get on you like white on rice about this, that, and the other thing. So, I mean, I saw one comment, and I think everybody was very well intentioned in their comments and criticisms. But one was that the test was useless, and I think it's really not a matter of it being useful or not useful. It's just understanding the limits of your camera and working within those limits, right? It has nothing to do with did one camera win over the other. Because there's really no such thing as winners and losers when it comes to cameras, in my opinion, because all cameras offer their own unique experience. And you can't really just say, this camera is better than that camera. And the ISO test is a very, 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 very small piece of the things you might want to consider when purchasing a camera. I mean, you can I shoot ISO 25,000 time to time, in low light with black and white, it's fine. I'm not worried about shooting high ISO for my photography. For paid work, nobody in their right mind, if they're getting paid, did I just say cannon worms? Yes. What was I talking about now? I'm trying to keep up with the text, but you know, as a professional, if you're getting paid work, you're I don't know too many that are going to be shooting much over base ISO. Time to time, maybe even, they might go to 6400, at which point I think the results from any of those cameras I tested are still acceptable. But most professionals, I'm going to tell them, if somebody asks me their advice, nobody asks me anyway, but bring a flash, and if you can plan the schedule, like the timing, go when the weather's good and nice good ambient light. If it's cloudy or it's raining, bring a flash. If you're going to be shooting indoors, always bring a flash. I mean, it's if there's times when you can't use a flash, because there's lots of event photography where you're not going to use a flash for, you don't want to disturb the parties involved. So in that case, if you're running into random things and you're shooting indoors a lot and it's at night, it's not like in the daytime, then maybe you want to go with a full frame to get a little better performance more consistently, right? So you're not missing shots that you might miss if you're shooting with Micro Four Thirds. But there are times when you have to choose, right? Do I take this shot or not? Because even with a full frame camera, you're going to sit there and say, I don't think I can get this shot. Why bother taking it? It's just not going to come out, regardless of the camera you're using. But my work, professionally speaking, for photography, the Olympus OMD EM1 Mark III is what I use. The workflow and the customization I get out of it just far outweigh any benefits I might gain if I wanted to use a full frame camera. But I don't need to, because I'm always shooting on a tripod at base ISO, and I'm always using a flash. So it's almost irrelevant that the high ISO performance, I think, for most professional work, high ISO performance is a non-issue. With that exception of like event photography at night, things like that, yeah. I can see where, you might want to go full frame, so you can pull some shadows with less noise, all kinds of good stuff, right? But anyhow, Rick says, I have a framed 3D map of Skyline Drive. Oh, that's cool. That's really cool. And high ISO. David Crooks is here. I didn't see you come in. Oh, hey, David. Oh, and David Tellett. Oh, hey, David Tellett. How are you? David Crooks, it looks like it's going to rain Saturday. Let's go Sunday, if we can. See what the group says. David Crook runs a local photo club here, so he set it up for this Saturday, but it's going to rain all morning, all day. So maybe Sunday morning, though, it'll be nice and clear. And then David Tellett, my lens came in. It really only took 5 days from Japan to get here. 38mm f1.8, mint condition, $110 or $105. I'm so happy. So I'm going to put some film in it. Maybe I'll shoot with it this weekend, maybe tomorrow. But this is a Pen FT Dave Tellett gave me, very generously gave me. I'm surprised, with the lens on it, this thing weighs 620 grams. And I found if I loosen the battery cover a little bit, it turns off the internal light meter, so I'm not draining the battery while it's just sitting on the shelf. So that's another thing I did. But yeah, I'm really excited. So I'm going to take out my, and it made me realize, because it's a half frame camera, so it shoots portrait mode, like 4x3 portrait mode. Yeah, I'm pretty excited. I got some Ilford HP 400, 400 ISO, HP 5 ISO 400. Um, all this. Uh, anyway, so yeah, I got that. My my other thing came in too for my Manfrotto 055. The center column came in. Where is that? But it has a adjustable. It has a, you know, a leveling head on it. But I could still use the other platform if I see you, David, for situations like I have now where I got this thing set up, because it's a little bit awkward the way it is now. I mean, it works great, but a platform would help. Why doesn't this plug in? Yeah. So if I do this, yeah, this thing, I have it set up with a clamp coming out over to my other camera so I can do this do my videos. I made a video today. I'm going to publish it probably uh, tomorrow morning on the M1 Mark III. Just some tips on video work. It's just a workflow thing. Little video. I don't know. I want to make another one on Flash. I thought I could get 2 videos out today. I can't even get one. But I got one coming out tomorrow. I just have to add a little bit of B-roll in it, so it's a little more interesting visually. Because right now it's just a talking head of me, right? Like this, talking. Um, let's see. Music says you updated your firmware. Yeah, I still need to update the firmware on mine. And Arthur, hey Arthur, how are you? Wow, it's midnight there. So you're in the same time zone. Well, you're a couple hours ahead of the UK then. So it's because I think it's like 10 o'clock there. Yeah, this is not a good timeline for you, Arthur. And a lot of people in the UK, it's a little bit late. But I really had to push my streams on Thursday much later so I could get some things done. But Tuesday's early and Sunday is pretty early usually. And Marcel says 10% of my work is photographed above 3200. Yeah, I would say that's probably about the same for me. And John McCormick says, while camping in Big Meadows Campground, I saw a black bear come and take a cooler full of steaks. Wow, right out of the middle of a group of campers and ran off with it. Oh my God. That's crazy. I thought about buying bear spray when I go out. Not because I'm more scared of the bears. I'm scared of my dog scaring the bears. And if one of them gets scared, you know, they basically, you know, murder, death, kill, right? They want to kill you when they get scared. But the problem with bear spray, it's really expensive and it expires. So I guess you know, it's better to have it and need it than not have it and need it, kind of thing, whatever it is. Oh man, B&H has a Canon set of 5 Cine lenses on sale for 35,000. Yeah, it's crazy. Lenses can get expensive, especially on larger format cameras. Uh, DeMorgan says Outbacks were turned. We heard the noise, and not sure where that's going. And John Yutze said, "What do you think of pop-up flash? A common view is that they are anemic and not worth using." Yeah, in a pinch, it's fine. I mean, I use the pop-up flash mostly to trigger an off-camera flash optically, but the on-camera flash, it's fine. You know, it's you know, you wouldn't use it for paid work, but if you're just taking pictures of your birthday parties or just stuff, right? it's okay. It doesn't, you need light. And yeah, outdoors, it's not going to make much difference on a bright day. So you're not going to overpower the sun. I mean, it's just a small flash, mostly for indoor use, to uh, to add light to the scene, so it's not, to freeze action, so it's not blurry. Keep your shutter speeds up, your ISO's low, all those things, because it's better to have a flash, a tiny flash, than no flash at all when you need one. So I really like the pop-up flash. That's why originally when I bought my D750, it has a pop-up flash, I think. I can't even remember now. My D7100 did. I I think my D750 did. I can't remember. I don't use it because I bought radio triggers. Uh, but yeah, a real flash is always better, but a little flash is better than none. That's for sure. And John Fowler says, I don't think ISO matters if you're doing sports such as motorsport or cycling. You have to get the shot regardless. Yes. And Bob Tishmarsh, good to see you. Thanks for that email. Bob, you sent me an email with a link to some article about a rumor about the Pen F2, that somebody's talking about a Pen F2. So that is very exciting because up until now, nobody's been talking about a Pen F2. Everybody's been wishing for it, but nobody from Olympus said, yeah, there's going to be a Pen F2 or we might be working on one. Nothing. I mean, nothing. But this article, there was some hint that there might be a Pen F2. So I got very mixed feelings about that personally. One is, I don't need another freaking camera. But two is, it, I just love the Pen F. uh, so when it comes out, I have to see if it's really any better than the Pen F that's already here. Because I'm looking for very specific things to improve on the Pen F2. The sensor to me is fine. The autofocus could be a little better, but I can live with it as is. The EVF is fine. What I really want is some more control over the colors. Maybe a tone curve for the individual color channels would be really awesome. Kind of like we have highlights and shadows now for, I mean, we have a tone curve for highlights and shadows now for the entire color band, but if we could pick individual colors, red, green, and blue, that would be freaking awesome. Um, and Plato said, oh, David Tell says, excellent. Yeah, I'm really happy about this. I can't wait. It's heavier than I thought it'd be, or than I remember last time you let me use it. Did a whole shoot of Burgess Brooks Cemetery a few weeks ago. Does anyone think that is morbid? My wife thinks so. Um, no, it's not morbid. It's art, you know? I mean, the tombstones, they put a lot of work into those sometimes, right? And they're beautiful. And I think capturing those tombstones and looking at the names and dates, it's these people will not be forgotten. One less person will remember, one more person will remember them, right? You, Plato, for example, might be reading the names of the cemeteries and looking at those and thinking about what their life might have been like. And I don't know, it's just when I go to cemeteries, it really makes me appreciate life more. It's the opposite of being morbid, in my opinion. But then on an artistic side, yeah, the tombstones themselves can be very beautiful. Um, so that's what I think. And Rick Bear says, I think bears are amazing, but it's always winter when I'm in the USA, so all the bears are hibernating. Yeah, now's a good time to take Ellie out to the mountains and go hiking, because I won't run into a bear, actually. Arthur said, that's a lovely Olympus film camera. Yeah, it's awesome. It's awesome. It'll shoot, since it's a half-frame camera, it'll shoot 72 pictures on a 36 roll. So I can be a little bit more adventurous with it. You know, I don't have to wait for the sky to be on fire before I take a picture, you know. I can take pictures of less interesting things. I'm not running out of film. And Scott Mumford says, question is film ISO 400 the same as digital 400? For all intents and purposes, yeah. In terms of trying to calculate exposure, as far as I know, there's no difference. I mean, I guess there's some differences. I better not say anything. You know, when I start talking out my butt, it just gets you into trouble, right? I mean, I've heard arguments that it's not the same, but I can't remember what they were. But what I did is I would shoot, like one of the meters on my camera is not working, my film camera, so I would shoot with the digital camera and use the exposure settings based on the ISO of the film, and things came out fine. So for all intents and purposes, ISO's the same. But if someone else knows more about it, feel free to chime in the chat section. But I never really did it. You know, I always expose for ISO whatever the film says in comparison to my digital. Okay. Take care, Arthur. Thanks for stopping in. You be safe too. And Chuck Eckert says, I was looking at my old Olympus lens that I had for my OM1 and OM2. I have the 51.4, the 2835, the 100 2.8, and the Vivitar 200 f3.5. Thought I might give them a try. Yeah, I think the 2835 will probably be your best bet. Because it's very small and light, right? And it's fairly wide, normal. The 56 millimeter equivalent, that'll be a little easier lens to use. The Vivitar 200 f3.5 is going to be rough. It can be done, like if you're on a tripod, yeah, you can have some fun with that lens. Maybe do some landscape, telephoto landscapes, but wow, that's tough. And the 50 millimeter is not bad. It's just a little big and heavy, that lens, the 1.4. But yeah, the 2835 is pretty small. Yeah, there's rumors of a Pen F2. That's what I heard, John. And even more Olympus cameras for 2021. Paul Sellers says a Pen F2 with better viewfinder and EM5.3 internals and weather sealing would be a hit. Yeah, I doubt they're going to weather seal the Pen F. That would just drive the cost up even more than it is. And the better viewfinder, I think the viewfinder is fine the way it is, but yeah, if they put everything in the M5 in there, but like I said, they need to add all those color controls. That's what made the Pen F special, is that little creative dial on the front. They need to expand on that somehow. Particularly with, you know, doing individual color channels, like a tone curve for the color. If not that, then let us adjust saturation, hue, and luminance on a color wheel like we do in Workspace. Something like that would be awesome. I would prefer a tone curve setting, but yeah, hue, saturation, luminance is good too. Or do both. That would be freaking awesome. And Bob says it was a German Olympus guy. Yeah, that sounds right. I think that's what I read. And a Belgian user reported today that Olympus service is being downgraded. Olympus is no longer reachable by phone. You have to fill in a form and they'll get back to you in 2 to 3 days. Wow. That's rough. Yeah, I'm a little worried about service. Like there might be, right now the service is excellent because I've used warranty 3 times, right? And all 3 times the experience has been stellar. If that takes a step back, that's going to be painful, especially for professionals, right? Where they need their stuff. Jeff Painter, hello. And Rick says you'd buy a weather-sealed Pen F Mark II, but not the current one. Interesting. Yeah, the weather sealing is not that important to me. Not on that camera anyway. On most cameras, honestly, I don't like to go out when it's raining. Although time to time I got stuck in the rain and was happy that I had weather-sealed cameras. I had the EM1 Mark III with me at the time with the 12 to 40 Pro, so I was totally fine. But let's see. And Paul Celerus says, I don't understand what Ali and Penny were thinking. They launched the Pen F and GX8 cameras that today are expensive in second-hand market, and they didn't do proper next generation. Oh, the morgue is, yeah, the morgue is very morbid. That's true. Very good distinction there, Paul. Cemeteries are not more morbid. The morgue is. GX8 is a Panasonic, but I I don't think the GX8 is still expensive, is it? That would surprise me. I haven't looked at I don't really look at Panasonics too much. The Pen F, yeah, but the Pen F is holding its value, that's for sure, in the used market. I mean, that should be like a $300 camera by now, like the EM1 Mark II, because they came out about the same time. Or I'm sorry, the EM10 Mark II. Um, yeah, you hope you don't. David says, I hope we don't get rained out Saturday. It's not looking good, David. And Marjorie, hello. I'm a little late, but not late than never, right? Yes. I'm glad you're here, Marjorie. Good to see you. And David Crook says, ISO depends on manufacturer settings. It's not standardized. To some extent, it's close enough, though. And DeMorgan says, when they made the digital standards, ISO was defined to match film ISO, so exposure would be the same. Yes, I think that bears out in my testing. I mean, I'm not doing any scientific testing, but when I shoot film and I shoot digital, the exposure settings are pretty close. You know, adjusting for, 30-year-old metering in these cameras, in these film cameras, right? The meters are really old. And probably using the wrong batteries, so the voltage is wrong. So, everything's off on these old film cameras. Nothing is right, but that's what makes it fun, kind of, right? You know, using an old rickety camera, you don't know if the picture's going to come out or not. Yep, every camera should shoot mid-gray the same if the exposure and ISO are set the same. That's the plan. And DeMorgan also says, by the way, ISO is actually the name of the organization that set standards and used their initials to replace ASA, which was film speed before. Okay. I think Tony Northrup had a video on ISO and that whole thing. I watched it when it came out years ago. And the only takeaway I got from it really was I just call it ISO instead of ISO, right? And I don't think it matters if you say ISO or ISO. I just say ISO because it's 2 syllables instead of 3. Just shorter and easier. And Peter, hello. Why the expense for weather sealing? Some people need it. You know, it's a deal breaker for some people, actually. But if you're asking why is it more expensive to put weather sealing, because it would require a whole redesign of the camera. Because weather sealing is more than just rubber seals and uh, you know, because when you think of weather sealing, we think of very simple, like the little rubber seals we see, like in between the dials and the framing and everything. It also has to deal with the way the water lands on the camera and wicks away in between the dials. So there's a lot of design things they have to do in a weather sealed camera that uh, they may not be able to do with the current Pen F design. They'd have to redesign it somewhat. You know, also, it's kind of like the M5. You know, if you look at the M5 Mark II, the M1 Mark II, and the M5 Mark III, right? The two Mark II cameras, they are all metal bodies all the way around, and the M5 Mark III is plastic all the way around, and it's weather sealed. Just like the TG5 is all plastic and weather sealed. I think it's harder to weather seal uh, cameras that are a mix of metal and plastic, right? Because of the different expansion and shrinking during heat and cold. I'm just guessing, okay? But the Pen F is an all-metal build, but I think they'd have to really substantially redesign it. I mean, they've certainly had the time to do that, so maybe, but I doubt it. And the film was made by cutting 70mm film for video in half. Now they call that full format. Ah, maybe. I don't know. I don't know. That's way before my time. And Thomas Zizowskis, hello. I had an unofficial tour of Municipal Morgan, Tennessee a few years ago and thought it was fascinating, not morbid, but that smell and no camera or phone. Oof. Yeah, I would not, yeah. I guess a morgue is more gross than it is morbid. But yeah, I'm not into that whole thing. I don't like to watch those true crime stories because they're just too real. And I don't like to watch things that are gory, you know, uh, or horror movies. Like I used to watch that show. It's about zombies and stuff, but it just got so gory. And I'm usually eating when I'm watching TV, so I just can't watch them anymore. Um, there was some series of Walking Dead, or not the movie, but the TV series. It just was so gory. I couldn't watch it anymore. Even like Supernatural got a little bit gory, but they're not quite as bad. Um, but definitely Walking Dead or Dead Wall, I can't remember that TV series. But anyway, the Morgan as 1/2 cin film format as versus camera plate film. Yeah, you guys, I have no idea. I was actually caught with a Panasonic 12 to 32 lens in the rain after 2 days. Small water droplets were still inside the lens, but it's working fine now. Good. Yeah, I love that little 12 to 32, but um, my Where's my... Oh, it's not here. I was going to show you a picture, but it's not there. Okay, I think... Hey, Roman, how are you? I was so trying to remember your name on the last stream. I could not remember. I remembered after the stream was over, of course, but I forget even what I was talking about now. But I was like, there's somebody, and I can't remember his name. Now I can't remember what I was talking about, but I'm glad you're here, Roman. We were probably talking about something physics. No, I would have remembered your name then, because you're the physics chem guy. Where'd my chat window go? And Rick says, in the OM1 days, I used to take my cameras into caves and caverns where everything is water. My lenses used to be dried on top of a radiator. It works. Yep. Nothing electronic when the lenses... Oh, excuse me. You just had to watch out for hard water spots and things if that was a thing. And Ron Snyder says, I think if they want the Pen F2 to sell, it must be weatherproof. That's one reason the Pen F didn't. I don't know, Ron. I think the reports were that the Pen F sold at expectations. And there was never an intent to make a Pen F2. So I don't think they not made a Pen F2 because it didn't sell. I think they not made one because they never planned to make one after that. The Evil Dead was a good laugh. Yeah. The movie Evil Dead, that was great. I love that guy. I forget his name. All his B movies, you know. He is the king of B movies. Can't remember his name, but when you see his face, you know who he is. I'm so terrible with names lately. Gosh. Where they can record the whole crime scene and the autopsy is too... Yeah. Darko, I'm with you. I can't deal with gross things. I can watch gross movies sometimes because I know it's fake, right? But then sometimes I can't do it. It's too real looking. Like one thing they gotta stop doing, I don't care, you know, they gotta stop showing people throwing up on TV. I hate that. It's just the most disgusting thing to me when you see somebody throwing up on TV, just yakking away. I mean, just have a scene where they go into the bathroom and close the door, and I'm happy with that. But they gotta actually show it, you know? It's like, oh, just disgusting. And Tony says the M43, your ISO is twice as high. You've got to stand twice far away and take twice as many photos than you have to with a full frame, and the commission is only half what Sony pays. Wow. And Alex C says, hi Rob, I'm late to the party, but I've an update from the Olympus community. The latest firmware 1.3 for the M5 Mark III breaks the Wi-Fi camera, won't connect to the OI Share app. Oh, wow. And Alex says, I'm the one affected. Users, Olympus aware of the issue, and let's hope for a fix. Yeah. And Darko's asking if I tried the M10 Mark IV. I have not. And I probably won't. I was a little bit tempted because it was down to 500 bucks. Like right now, I think on the Olympus refurb site, it's $514 with 14 to 42 lens. I forget if it's the power zoom or the regular, but because my EM10 Mark II is really flaky. The mode dial now is getting a little bit flaky. Like I'll dial it to a certain mode and it won't go into that mode, so I have to kind of jiggle it a little bit and it'll go in. So what I might do is replace this with another EM10 Mark II. Not anytime soon, but the EM10 Mark IV, you know, I have an EM5 III. I just don't see a need for the Mark IV. Although for the money, you know, I wouldn't stop to hesitate recommending it to anybody. I think it's a fine camera. Uh, but if you can squeeze it, you know, maybe the EM5 Mark III would be, depending on the price spread, right? It's about double the price for an EM5 Mark III, but I think you're getting a lot more for your money. And Roman says, it's not that difficult. I'm lucky I don't have an Iranian name. Just gave maths before lessons. Oh, so you just came from a math lesson, teaching one? Yeah. I wish I could remember what I was trying to reference you for something, and I can't remember. Rick Bear says, drying it on a radiator will only be safe for old school OM film lenses. I wouldn't recommend it for digital. Yeah, definitely not. There's so much plastics now. The only thing you have to be careful, even with vintage lenses, is make sure you close the blades down to like f16 or f22 if you're storing the lenses. That'll help keep the oil off of them. Because, you know, if the blades start to get oily, it can slow down how quickly they open and close, and you might get a bad exposure. Uh, so drying on a radiator, I'm wondering if the heat from the radiator would liquefy the oil a little bit so it gets on the blades. So I would say stop your lens down to like f16 or f22, whatever's the minimum aperture, um, just to kind of avoid that issue. And Randy, hey, how are you? No power due to high winds. Oh, wow. Are you at home though? Or are you, because I remember you were saying you were going on the road. I didn't know if that was like a day trip or if you were going somewhere for a while. And Alex says, did you update the firmware in EM5 Mark III? I did not update it, no. Um, I haven't updated any of my cameras yet for the firmware. I I, I like to wait a little bit, uh, just in case, like this, right? This issue. Because right now the cameras are performing fine. If there was a problem I was trying to fix and the firmware is going to fix it, then yeah, I would probably update sooner than later. But I'm not in any hurry to update the firmware right now. And you just made a video of hundreds of trucks pulled over on the side. Oh, okay. Bruce Campbell. Thank you, Scott. That's the guy's name. The King of B Movies. He has a book called King of B Movies also that I want to buy. It's in my wish list on Amazon. I should just buy it. I don't know. I can't. I got so many books I've been planning to read. I haven't started yet. So what am I going to do? Buy another book and not read it? It's just terrible. But yes, Bruce Campbell, thank you. Oh, David Crook says throwing up started in The Sopranos. Yeah, that's another show I didn't watch. Um, just because I didn't have HBO, not because I thought it was a bad show. I didn't watch it. I think it's on Netflix now or somewhere, but I just, I don't know. I think The Godfather is kind of my gangster movie if I want to watch a gangster movie. I don't know. I haven't given it a chance. I might have to watch it one day. In Alpine, Florida, at your house. Ooh, 60-mile-an-hour winds. It scares me when I get high winds where I live because I have all these trees are probably, 50 to 100 years old, and they're rickety and falling apart as it is. A high wind could make one of them fall on my house. So I always worry about that. And I would cut them down, but they're not in my yard. They're all my neighbor's trees. I have one big ass tree in my house. Uh, but that's it. One big one that I may cut down soon because it is getting kind of rickety. But, it's still healthy. It's still a healthy tree, but a few branches are a little bit rotted out. That's why I don't want to cut it down yet, because overall it's a very healthy tree. And it's far enough away from my house that if it fell, I think it would fall away from my house. And even if it fell towards my house, the damage might be minimal. But my neighbor's trees, oh my God, they're so huge. And Roman's asking, does anybody have the Samsung NX cameras? They're going for 100 to 400 with lens in Germany. Nope, don't have that one. I was a Nikon guy back when that came out, so I didn't even worry about it. And Rob Trex like to check and see if his will bounce. Yeah. Uh, Paul Celerus says, I used to look at a lot of guys, Tony and Jared, etc. All of them seemed too arrogant and promoted products one after another, saying that you need that camera if you want to be the best. And then I discovered Maddie, Robin, Rob, Peter, and many such down-to-earth guys, and more importantly, promoted happiness, not products. Oh, that's a nice thing to say, and I think that's very true. It's a really good community, the Micro Four Thirds community. Um, Everybody that I've dealt with have been, awesome people, right? Uh, don't forget about Jimmy Chang at Red 35. Um, you know, this core and Emily, you know, such nice people in this community, as well as the viewers. The viewers, you guys are all really nice too. And that was the one thing that scared me when starting a YouTube channel, right? Is am I gonna have thick skin to handle the criticism and that the trolls and all of that, right? Uh, and 4 years in, is it 4 years now? I think it's 3 or 4. I can't remember. I think this is the end of my fourth. See, 17, 18, 19. Yeah, this is the end of my fourth year. Uh, I haven't had any issues with anybody. It's all been peachy keen. I mean, there's the normal like spam bots and things that you have to delete, and those are kind of a headache. It's and because those aren't real people; these are just spammers, just spamming everybody, right? But uh, yeah, it's been a great experience. I would not be doing this for this long to this day, were not for the community of the viewers like you guys and the support I get from the other Micro Four Third channels. Definitely a strong group. I've never met, obviously, Tony or Jared and, a few others, right? But they all seem like nice enough people. I don't, we have very different groups and viewers, so I don't see when our paths would cross in real life, especially now that a lot of events are canceled. There's just no opportunity to meet them in a more public place, right? And if I reach out to them, and I have reached out to a few smaller channels, and they haven't gotten back to me. Uh, so it's hard to connect sometimes. Joe Edelman is excellent too. He's very, very businesslike and he has a ton of experience. So Joe Edelman, it's a very different tone than say me, right? I'm more laid back, relaxed, but Joe Edelman's more high energy and very focused and has a purpose when he's online. So I highly recommend Joe Edelman if you're interested in particularly photography tips and portraits, right? Doing portrait type work. But he's a very competent photographer across the board, right? So you can ask him anything. But his specialty is in portraits, and he live streams every week on Wednesdays at 6 o'clock. So check out his streams too if you have the time, and you'll definitely learn something. And he always gives some good information in the beginning. And Paul Celer says, I get a lot of positive attitude. Awesome. I'm happy. I'm happy. You know, because really it's about photography, right? I mean, and enjoying our hobby, enjoying the cameras for what they are, right? It's not a competition at all. You know, just because I have Nikon, Panasonic, and Olympus and Fuji, I have all of them, right? I even have a Sony, you know, Pentax. I mean, every camera offers a different experience and has something to offer. And I just enjoy the hobby. Um, Now, if you want to ask me professionally what I use, yeah, I have Olympus, right? Olympus EM1 Mark III, and soon the Panasonic S5 for some video work, as soon as I get a job. I can't believe, I'm still upset. We're like already into December, and I haven't had a job since the end of October. I just, I'm a little upset. Things are tight, you know, and then they announced that there might be a Pen F2 out, and I'm like, I might not be able to get one. If this keeps up, let me tell you. And oh, Rick Bear has some good something here, I think. Presumably, you're closing the aperture blades before storage. Oil and blades issue should also apply to digital lenses, but you can do that on digital lenses. Never thought about it. Yeah, I've noticed on the digital lenses that they close when you take it off the camera. Not all of them. Sometimes they're wide open, but when I take the 12 to 40 Pro off, you can see that the lens, see the tiny hole? It close, maybe, see? The blades close automatically. And on, let's see, let's look at the Panasonic lens. The Panasonic, actually, the blades are wide open. So the Panasonic blades don't close. But see, Olympus does, right? So they know. Let me look at the 45 millimeter from Olympus. Nope, wide open. So the aperture blades are wide open on this. And there's no way to close them because it's electronic, right? Let me check one more Olympus lens. Yeah, wide open on the 17 millimeter. But the Pro lens is closed, which is interesting. How about the Fuji? And I don't and Nikon, I only have D lenses. My G lenses, I'm not sure. I'd have to look for one. How do you take the freaking lens off this thing? Wide open. So Fuji's are wide open, but the one Olympus, well, I got one other Pro lens. The 8 millimeter, it's going to be impossible to tell on this. Oh, on this lens, it looks like they're wide open. That's interesting. So it varies lens to lens, apparently. But mostly on digital lenses, it looks like they're wide open. The only one I have. I don't know, look at your lenses. But yeah, be careful when you keep lenses in very warm environments, right? Like in the sun or in the trunk of your car. If you can, make sure the blades are closed. Uh, And Alex says, I just updated for better stabilization in video. Frankly, it improved that and the cost of Wi-Fi not working. Yeah, I'd be interested to see the improvement in the image stabilization. I got to think of a way to record video in a way. Oh, hold on. It's my mom. Hello? Yeah. Why? Yeah. Oh, why? I mean, I read some other letter that were talking about that by the end of the year something was going to change, but uh, yeah. Mm-hmm. You know, I have to read it because when you're reading it to me, I can't really understand. So, okay, well, I'm in the middle of something right now. So don't come tonight. I can look at it tomorrow though, okay? Okay. I mean, I, all right, I can't do it over the phone. I have to see it. So, I'll look at it tomorrow. It's nothing we can do about it tonight, okay? Like 9 o'clock? Look up what? No, I can do that tomorrow, Mom. It's nothing I can do about it tonight. Okay? Just sleep on it and relax. You'll be okay. But we'll figure it out tomorrow. Okay? Okay. All right, bye. Sorry. Ugh, you have to take a call from your mom, right? What are you gonna do? She's upset about something. I don't know if I can fix it, but let's see. How was the date? I did not go. She uh she bailed on me. Um Charge your insurance claim to your neighbor. Yes. If that happens, definitely the neighbor's insurance policy would cover the damage to my home. That's how it works here. And Rick Bear says oil on the aperture blades is the least of your worries when you're up to your neck in freezing water. Yeah, definitely. Um, Scott Mumford says during a windstorm we had last year, our tree actually protected the garage from the neighbor's tree crashing down. Our tree actually. Oh, okay. Yeah. No, my tree's out in the middle of the yard, so you guys have seen it in my videos. My tree. My neighbor let me plug my fridge into his generator. Got cold beer. Oh, that's cool. That's a good neighbor. And Alex, I agree on MFT communities. I was part of some full-frame Sony communities just as eviters, and those were toxic. They also no help offered. They just measured gear and ISO performance. Yeah. Yeah, some groups are like that. Um, which is fine. Everybody's into different things. You know, if you're into the gear and the technology behind the gear and getting every last, you know, squeezing every last drop out of your camera, some groups they really get into that. And Rob, we're going to have to increase our trolling. He's not even noticed he's being trolled. And then Randy says, you guys are my only entertainment tonight. Pretty sad. Um, it's awesome. Some people don't even have this group, right, that we're in right now. And, oh, TDL says the Panasonic Lumix 25 closes the blades. Let me see. I have that lens. Got an Olympus body cap on it, but, or lens cap. Oh yeah, it does. Blades are closed on the 25, so it's very random, isn't it? Huh. Maybe it's not as big a deal as I'm making it out to be, but it's just good practice. Don't put anything in the trunk of your car where it's hot. Just rule of thumb. And the Fuji blades were seized due to lack of use. Yeah, that's true. And then Rick says, maybe the digital lenses stay at whatever aperture you're using when you switched it off. I can't see why the aperture would change when powering off. Well, on this camera, let's see, it's at f4. Let me crank it up to 2.8. And let's take a picture at 2.8. All right. So let's see if the blades are wide open. Nope, they close down again. Definitely. So at least on this Pro lens, it doesn't matter. And then the 17, let me open that up to, let me close it down to f22. Turn off this HDR. Wow. Dang it. All right, let's see. Nope, still wide open. So, but you know, on digital cameras, the blades are wide open most of the time, no matter what aperture you set. And they only close down when you take the exposure. So as soon as the exposure is over, you open the blades open up again. And taking the lens off the camera, you'll never have the blades at f22 when you take the camera off, or take the lens off the camera, I should say. And then David Tellis says opinions, Ollie 30 or 60 macro lens? Get the 60, no question. You know, because on the 30 millimeter, you have to get about this close to get one-to-one magnification, right? With the 60 millimeter, I think you can get about that close and still get a one-to-one magnification. So you have more working distance. That working distance gives you a little room to add light if you want to, or, you know, without, you know, getting reflections off the lens itself, all kinds of reasons. Definitely the 60. Now the 30 has the benefit of being a little more versatile because you can kind of use it as a normal lens when you're not using it as a macro, whereas the 60s, you know, it's a short telephoto, right? It's 120 millimeter equivalent. That's a little harder to use as a versatile lens. It's almost a dedicated macro lens. But the 30 is a little more flexible, so if you don't mind getting this close to get one-to-one, that may be a better choice. And Alex says, haha, Rob, that's the most humbling thing you can do is answer to your mom on a live stream. Yeah, I have to. I mean, she's 75, so if she calls, I have to answer. It could be anything at this age, right? I just lost my dad last year. That was rough. Uh, and I only live about a quarter mile from my mom. It feels like a couple of blocks, but so I can be there like that if she calls. And what's so special about Rob's streams is that participants tend to interact with each other a lot and they get to know each other. Yeah. I'm really glad it's kind of, you know, become more of a community rather than me just doing a Q&A and then leaving, right? And It's always been community though. Even from when I started, uh, the streams have always been like this, I think. I was a little bit more answering questions in the beginning because it was the first time I was on, right? Uh, soup is coming, yeah. No, she hasn't made me soup in a long time. 'Cause I told her I don't like soup, so she stopped making it. David Teller says, you guys are costing me money. Oh, I know. Yeah, Rob Trex, yeah. And you're young, right? I think I saw you say you're like 33 years old, Paul. Let me tell you, when you're in your 50s or 60s, if your mom is still, alive, she's going to treat you just like you're 10 years old. Trust me. And Paul Bates says, hi, Rob. Paul from the UK just wanted to say, keep up the great work you're doing, and you've helped me loads. Oh, you're welcome, Paul. I'm glad to help. And Randy said, I consider myself in good stead with you guys and gals. Yes. I'd love to see more gals in the stream, though. I think I saw Marjorie here earlier, which is awesome, but uh, there's another couple of ladies that used to come in more often that I haven't seen. Maybe they come on different days. I can't remember their names. I haven't seen what's her name in a long time, or in a couple of weeks anyway. Maybe she found another friend to get on the phone with. um, Agree. Menus are not so complicated. It takes you maybe 1 hour to find what you need, regardless of manufacturers. Yeah. And TDL Play says, hey, Rob, do you still keep the EPL8 around? Yeah, it's still here. Right here. I don't use it anymore. Uh, so it's a fine camera. Um, I don't know. Maybe I'll give it to a friend of mine or something. But she's not into photography. I don't know. If I knew a close friend that was into photography, I'd just give it to them. But I don't know anybody. And they'd have to be a close friend. Otherwise, I'd sell it to somebody cheap. If I just know you, like an acquaintance or something, then I'd sell it to you really cheap. But indeed, I lost my mom last year. Yeah, it's rough, Alex. I'm sorry to hear that. Uh, John Allen says, I'm still 12. No, you're not. 15 minutes. Oh, yeah. We got to start the next stream soon. So thanks, Bob. I will keep that in mind. Looks like I'm all caught up. Old player, yes. Hello. How are you? Good to see you. And Roman says, parents never understand the fact that when children are 1 and they are 30 to relation 1 is 30. When children are 55 and parents are 75, the relationship is less than 1 to 2. Yeah. I don't have kids myself, so I don't know how my mom and dad felt about, you know what I mean, at this age. I have nephews that are like, one is in high school and one has started their first year in college that I've known since they were born. And I do feel a sense of them getting older, and I treat them differently than I did when they were really young. So I treat them as the age they are, not like parents. Parents treat kids like they're 10 years old no matter what. Um, oh, did Plato say he's leaving? I missed that. But we'll catch you next time, Plato. Thanks for stopping in. And Rick says, would you buy a cheap secondhand camera off Rob Trek? Check for dents when he's dropped it. Just, yeah, that's true. I mean, I'd have to sell it to you cheap because that PL8 I know I've dropped many, 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 many times. Just like my EM10 Mark II. Cameras that I've not dropped much is my EM1 Mark III. I don't think I've dropped it once. No, I take that back. I have dropped it once. It wasn't my fault. The strap gave way. I made the strap, so people still say it's my fault because it's my faulty strap, but it wasn't because I was being clumsy. So it's a different reason it's my fault. My EM1 Mark II I dropped once, and that was because the wind blew it over. It was on a tripod. My EM5 Mark III I've dropped twice. Once, there's a picture of once when I dropped it on my Instagram. Somehow it took a picture of me as it was falling. So you guys haven't seen my Instagram. That's a great picture. Let me see if I can pull it up real quick. Yeah, this one. This picture here. Somehow when I dropped the camera, as I was trying to catch it, it took a picture of me. Uh, that was hilarious. But the strap gave way. Anyhow, that was that. And Alex says, here's a fun topic, film simulations. Yeah, I've only tried the Kodachrome, and I do have some film simulations on my website for Workspace. And I did do, I think, a vlog of film simulations trying to mimic the Fujifilm on my EM10 Mark II. So, but it's been a year since I've even thought about trying to mimic film simulations. I recently started to replicate film simulations in Lightroom. Yes. And Roman says, my mom still calls and asks if I want to eat and just tell her, no, I'm still fat because of too much water. Hopefully we'll all feel like we're 10 years old. Yeah. How about my EM5 Mark II? Yep, I still have that. That one is right here. This one I can tell you I've never dropped. This is still like right out of the box, man. I don't think there's even 100 frames on, well, there's more than that, but I haven't used this camera much. It's a great camera though. This is the camera I got to replace my EM10 Mark II that was kind of falling apart. But then I ended up buying an EM1 Mark III, so now I just have too many cameras. So that's why I'm a little bit worried about the Pen F2 because it's just another camera I don't need but want. This is a great camera. The EM5 Mark II. Olympus knows how to make a camera. I just can't believe people didn't buy them enough that they could, stay in house. Do you want to buy it? No. Uh, but if, this is the deal I make with people I know. And if you're local, right? Like if you're in a photography club here locally that I go to, whatever KEH will give me for it, I can sell it to you for, which is usually half what it's worth. So I think they quoted me like 250 bucks for my EM5 Mark II as a trade-in value. So if somebody wants to buy it for 250 bucks, if you're local to me and I know you, I will sell it to you for that. I mean, I'd rather sell it to somebody local than KEH, right? But I don't know if I want to sell it or not. Anyway, I should get going. It's almost time for my next stream. Roman's asking if you would keep... Oh, you bought an EM5 Mark II for 250. That's awesome. Yeah, that's about what this is. Probably about 1,000 shutter count mint, right? And for about 250 on KEH. It retails for probably 350 to 400 used on eBay, and then maybe 500 brand new is kind of the price I saw today for it. And if I could keep only 2 cameras and 2 lenses, which would it be? For 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 my personal enthusiast type stuff, I would say Pen F and EM5 Mark III. And then the 2 lenses I'd keep. I don't know. The EM1 Mark III is pretty awesome though. But I'd say I'd probably, it's a tough call between, I'd say the EM1 Mark III and the Pen F would be my 2. Always the Pen F. The second one is kind of tougher to say. But I'll lean towards the EM1 Mark III for the extra features it has. And then for lenses, definitely I would probably get the 17mm prime and the 14 to 150 kit lens. Those 2. Yeah, those would be my 2 keeper lenses. Because a 14 to 150, you can do everything, and it's decent. And a 17 prime is very versatile, right? It's just a focal length I like. Professionally speaking, it would be a different set, right? It'd have to be EM1 Mark III and probably EM1 Mark III. I wouldn't need a second camera professionally, just a backup camera. And then lenses would be the 7 to 14, like a 7 to 14 Pro lens, and maybe a 45 for my professional work. So yeah, I would say a 45 and the 7 to 14. And then a 12 to 40. So forget about the 45 prime. 12 to 40 and a 7 to 14, those 2. Okay. Uh, uh, Too many people don't buy cameras to take photographs, to buy them to show off what they own. That's why influencers damaged Olympus. Yeah, you know, that's why I really tried to show people, early on in my channel, I really tried to show people how to use the Olympus camera because I was so impressed by all of the features it had. And, I didn't have some underlying goal of trying to expand photography and get people, it's, I don't know, I really thought, you know, if people knew how to use cameras, they'd use them and take more pictures, right? Rather than using their cell phones. So I tried to help the photo industry in general in that way, because I did want more people to using cameras in general. Olympus specifically, because they're such a great camera for photography, and they still are. I still haven't found a camera that I'd use instead of my Olympus for photography. For video work, there's all kinds of choices in Panasonic side, but for photography, there's very few. There's no cameras that I would consider outside of Olympus right now. Um, if Olympus didn't exist, yeah, there's a good selection there. But since Olympus does exist and I have the cameras, I just have no desire for any other camera for photography. They thought you were the news guy, Randy. That's such a big camera, man. And yep, I didn't see any problem with it. Now my wife steals it from me almost every day. Oh, wow. So your wife likes to take pictures too. That's awesome. And then Neil's asking, where can I find a battery latch for my EM10 II that is not $60? Yeah, eBay is a good place to look. Um, and John Yutze says, my old EPM2 with 14 to 42, 40 to 150, and 25 1/8 is a terrific kit, which I have in my car. Yes. Okay. I'm sorry. I only have 5 minutes to the next stream, so I have a lot to do in 5 minutes. So I'm going to end the stream today and thank everybody for spending your time today with me again. I really appreciate it. It's always a pleasure for me, and it's really the highlight of my day is to sit down and chat with everybody. I really appreciate it. And I'll be back on Sunday, God willing. But right now, in about 5 minutes, I'm going to go to my photo editing stream. So if you submitted an image or something, we'll see you over there. If not, we'll catch you on Sunday. Thanks again.